AOC won, yay. Actually, I don't care. Be honest with y'all. I don't care. Whenever a candidate is endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, I expect them to win in the district that they are an incumbent in. Okay. Usually, election fraud isn't committed against candidates that are favored by the establishment. And indeed, although AOC's opponent was a pro-Wall Street opponent, was put up by Wall Street, you have to understand, Wall Street got a lot of power. Wall Street ain't got more power than Nancy Pelosi. Because the only reason that Wall Street has as much power and influence that it has is because of people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. See, I don't know why everybody's so excited. I need y'all to resist the bandwagon nonsense. Resist it. Stop. Have y'all not learned y'all lesson yet? This Warren energy that I'm feeling right now, because y'all just want to be part of the winning team, yay, we won. No, you didn't. And you're potentially setting yourself up for a bigger gut check than the one you just received. Bro, the Warren debacle was less than a year ago. And y'all like, yeah, I know. Let's literally forget everything else that AOC has done. But she endorsed Bernie. You mean after 10 months of propping up Elizabeth Warren, legitimizing her among progressives, and then allowing, which enabled Warren, by the way, to take massive swaths of Bernie's voters away, who just thought that Bernie was too old, even though it was believed by many, unfortunately, far too many, that Warren and Bernie were ideologically similar. Remember that? That wasn't even a year ago. It wasn't even a year ago, people. And they're like, but it's okay that she called her mama bear, Pelosi. It's fine. It's okay that Biden picked her up for the task force, even though she has shown no capacity whatsoever to be an expert on climate change. Where have you seen her demonstrate that? If you say the Green New Deal, I swear to God, bro. I swear to God, if you say the Green New Deal in this damn video comment section, we gonna have problems. Biden. Hey, question really quick. Did Biden bring on Tulsi Gabbard to this task force? Out of curiosity. Climate change specifically. And the reason I asked that is because him actually bringing on, I think he brought on Jayapal for healthcare, even though he's not going to really use her. But it actually makes sense that he brings on Jayapal for healthcare. Right? Jayapal has introduced the best healthcare legislation in both the House and the Senate. She was the one who put the caucus together, built that coalition of literally hundreds of Congress people, and got the legislation done. It actually makes sense for him to bring on Jayapal because she knows what the hell she's doing. Well, if Jayapal has the best healthcare legislation and she was brought onto the task force, then shouldn't the person with literally the best climate change legislation in history have been brought onto the task force? Well, no, we don't want you to actually get something done. They know that Tulsi don't want her name on a task force just to appease her ego, because they're not going to do anything. Have you heard anything about that task force since it was started? No, you have not. What that basically was a list of progressive endorsements so that you could be reminded that Joe Biden is progressive on policy. Not really. But because they know y'all buy into the personality politics, y'all buy into the big name politics, y'all gonna believe he's progressive, or he's beginning to be progressive on certain policies because y'all see AOC's little name attached to it. He knows that a lot of the damn progressive movement is that stupid. Speaking as a progressive, by the way, in case you're curious. Y'all don't know what the hell y'all doing sometimes. Y'all just don't. I don't know what to tell you. You just don't. I see people cheering for AOC. I'm like, hold up. Mama Bear AOC? Mama Bear Pelosi? Hold up. Tara Reid didn't say she wasn't going to vote for Biden. When AOC was confronted about Tara Reid, and of course, subsequently her vote or endorsement of Biden, they said, what do you think about this Tara Reid? Well, Tara Reid didn't say she wasn't going to vote for Biden. Bro, in an NPR interview, that AOC, the same AOC who, whenever it came to Kavanaugh, said, we got to primary every single every single person, or run against any single person who even asks for, evidence. Make sure we go through the give Kavanaugh due process. Even though, I don't know, speculate whether or not he's guilty, but let's just say men of power have not been known to be not guilty in those situations. But even still, he did deserve due process. And as a congressperson, as a political person, you should actually expect due process. But she was like, nah, he's guilty. Okay. So keep that same energy, because when it came to Biden, well, we don't really have all the details. I think we should wait a bit. That same AOC, the same AOC who kissed Tulsi Gabbard's whole ass when she was running for office, but then when she won and realized how popular she could get, all of a sudden, she didn't want to work with Tulsi Gabbard on the Off Fossil Fuels Act, which is once again the most progressive climate change legislation in history. No, excuse me, the best climate change, not just most progressive, damn that, the best climate change legislation in history. She was, and guess what? AOC didn't even try to reach out to the only person who clearly was the best on climate change in Congress. Didn't even try. But wasn't she on like the climate change committee or something like that? And then she's gonna be on a climate change task force based off of what? Interesting. Until she found out how many opponents running against her and how many people were calling her out. Up until maybe a month and a half ago, maybe at the most 2 months, this woman introduced 2 pieces of legislation. 2. In a year and 10 months or so. No, excuse me. A year and 6 months of her being in Congress. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like she only introduced the new piece of legislation, which are teethless, and she didn't promote because, well, you don't want to promote that legislation because then you might put certain Congress people in a predicament when they don't back your progressive legislation. So it seemed like she only did it so her opponent could not then go on and say, well, you haven't even done anything. Because anyone with common sense would have said that. Not that you didn't get anything passed, you literally have not done anything. It took somebody pulling into you and getting a flood of money in at the very last moment for you to finally introduce legislation, and even then you wouldn't even push it. The same AOC who deferred to the caucus on Venezuela, that same AOC, I can't get enough of it. The same AOC who propped up Elizabeth Warren for 10 months, making her Bernie's biggest threat, not to win and to beat him, but to instead ensure that Biden wins. And of course, because we understand how the establishment works, if you set up Biden for a victory, if it's even close, that means Biden wins. That's what everybody who has a brain has been saying, right? Bernie would need to crush Biden in order for the narrative for Bernie to prevail. Otherwise, Biden will win via some random, absentee ballots being found. You know how that game goes. And it didn't matter. AOC, the same one who said that Biden was winning fair and square because she said at first that there was massive voter suppression in the Democratic primary on Fox News. And then she turned around to being caught up by the establishment Democrats and said, oh, no, I meant Biden won fair and square, and we should just be generally conscious about voter suppression. We talking about that? That same AOC? Hold up. Y'all know that Tulsi introduced the bill to, again, by the way, to end the war in Syria? What was AOC on that? That AOC? Okay. So the same AOC that propped up Kamala's legislation publicly was very braggadocious about it. Was super happy. It was Kamala and Kirsten Gillibrand legislation. The same AOC that propped up Julian Castro couldn't even fix her lips to mention the only other progressive in the race, maybe outside of Marilyn Williamson and, arguably Andrew Yang. The same AOC that actually signed with CAA. Y'all know, the talent agency who, because Tulsi Gabbard decided to quit the DNC and endorsed Bernie Sanders, that same CAA that was like, we're going to use our talent agency to crush you, the same CAA that's connected to Harvey Weinstein, the same CAA that, what's her name from Charmed? The one who doesn't like Alyssa Milano. Oh, that CAA. The one that Alyssa Milano belongs to that forced her to endorse Joe Biden because it's the same CAA that Joe Biden belongs to, and Kamala Harris, and Cory Booker, what you want me to go on a list? Anderson Cooper. And at some point, Anna Kasparian and Jank used to belong to it. If they don't still, I know they might not be managed by them anymore, but they still get booked through them. That Charlamagne the God belongs to, where he roasts Kamala Harris. But of course, you're CAA, so you better shut up and endorse Kamala. And guess what he did? That CAA. But she endorsed Bernie. But she endorsed Bernie. I don't give a damn. See, what y'all have not figured out is something that many politicians, at least the younger ones, have figured out, and something I've been preaching for quite some time. See, they figured out that an endorsement means more for their own career than it does for the prospects of the victory of other politicians. What do I mean by that? AOC had only everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose by endorsing Bernie Sanders as late as she did. As opposed to, let's just say, Tulsi Gabbard and Nina Turner, who endorsed Bernie in 2016, where one lost her DNC position and became an albatross around the neck of the goddamn Democratic Party and was rejected vehemently because of it. And then the other lost her Senate seat in Ohio, Nina Turner, without knowing what was coming next because she was busy on the road fighting for the mission that she thought was most important instead of campaigning back in Ohio. And then the Democratic Party funded someone to unseat her because of it. See, they didn't know what would happen because back then endorsements meant something a little bit different. Today, endorsements help your career depending on what level you're at, right? Joe Rogan is kind of like a weird situation. It doesn't matter what he does, he's always going to get bigger. But endorsements help your own career. Why do you think, we've already had this conversation regarding Bernie. There were people who basically admitted that, well, Tulsi's the best candidate, but I think Bernie has the best chance to win. Well, that's a self-defeating point. Like, that's a self-defeating argument. If everybody who thought Tulsi was actually believed it, not everybody believed it, but more people believed it than you thought, which is why everybody was always attacking her so viciously. If everybody thought that she was actually the better candidate voted for her and pushed her policies, which included election integrity, bet y'all wish y'all would have supported the Security American Election Act now, huh? If everybody supported her, she probably could have won. It would have been a hell of a fight, but she had a better chance than Bernie did, because guess what? Bernie never intended on fighting election integrity or for election integrity against election fraud. So he had never had a chance to win. I don't care how much money he raised. But the point is that when you endorse someone today, it could hurt your career or help your career. In the past, an endorsement meant you could put someone over the top. When everybody makes the argument, well, Warren didn't even endorse Bernie. First of all, let's make a couple things clear. Warren did not endorse Bernie or Biden because, one, she hates Bernie, really, like she truly dislikes him. She pretends to like him. Why? Because she needs his supporters. Duh. Effectively, she's endorsing without endorsing him. That's why she's always towing that line, because she also doesn't want the backlash from the Democratic establishment. But she always made it seem like she was going to endorse him. Why? Because she needed his base. Why? Because that's what endorsements do now. You get the payoff in the back end. But she also didn't support Biden. Why? Because she needed Bernie's base. What did I just tell you? And so now, if she doesn't endorse Biden, people couldn't say to her, at least in her mind, in her strategist's mind, well, you were always planning on trying to get the VP spot, because that was already lingering over her. Remember? Because it came out that she was trying to get Hillary Clinton's VP spot. So that clearly explained why she endorsed Hillary over Bernie and stayed quiet amongst the rigging. She knew this. Now, with that being said, for those of you who want to use, once again, that's personality politics. Because I know a lot of people, oh, well, didn't Dulcie endorse Biden? Right? Yeah. And Bernie was still in the race. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He admitted. He effectively conceded and began building a task force with Joe Biden because he was never going to fight election fraud. He conceded before Tulsi Gabbard announced. Now, none of them should have endorsed Biden. Not a single one of them. I don't agree with it. It's against the principles of the proclaimed principles of every single person that we're discussing right now. But yet, here we are. But there is one difference between the AOC and the Tulsi of Bernie Sanders and the Tulsi of Warren, especially in the Tulsi and the like, is that if we passed the policies and fought for the policies that Tulsi was trying to introduce, and this is beyond the all fact. This is, once again, the Securing America's Elections Act for mandatory paper ballots and open source voter software to make sure we can track, not only we can count ballots by hand, but then track anyone who tried to rig it. In addition to that, who was it that wrote the article calling out the intelligence community for trying to rig the election against Bernie Sanders? That was Tulsi, while she was still running. Who wrote the Fairness in Media bill? Okay. Who wrote the bill to try and hold Trump accountable for trying to start a war with Iran? Tulsi was fighting the fight. Move to amend the bill that her, Jayapal, Ro Khanna, and a couple of other Congress people authored to get big money out of politics. That was her. Bernie did not introduce a version of that now. Who wrote the bill to try to demilitarize the police? Understand the difference between a talker and a doer. You understand the difference between talking the talk and walking the walk. That's why the Warrens keep rising to the top. That's why the AOCs keep rising to the top. That's why the TYTs keep rising to the top. Because y'all people in the progressive movement are so obsessed with personality and who you've been told to like that you cannot see obvious disparities in your logic. It was baffling to me when people were like, Warren's only a little worse than Bernie. No, Bernie has his issues. He is leaps and bounds better than Elizabeth Warren. It's not even close. But on the other side of that fence, to any objective person paying attention to policy, Tulsi leaps and bounds better than Bernie. And the only one who's really comparable to her is not in Congress anymore, and that was Dennis Kucinich. And then in the Senate, the only one who's comparable to both of them, at least publicly and well known, is Mike Gravel. It's a very, very short list that Bernie, Tulsi, Gravel, Kucinich, I would say even Barbara Lee to a certain degree. Might be a couple more to throw in there, but it's like maybe 6 or 7. But they can be categorized based off of the things that they've advocated for and have fought for. Obviously, Mike Gravel is like at the top. I mean, the man is responsible for the damn Pentagon Papers. But there is a breakdown. And it needs to be understood, the way we break the cream of the crop down is through policy. I would never say that Tulsi has been better consistently on foreign policy than Barbara Lee. I don't care how much I don't like Barbara Lee for what she did as far as endorsing Kamala and working for her campaign. I don't care, because let's be, once again, Barbara Lee was against the war in Afghanistan, and caught hell for it. She caught hell for it. Even when Kucinich was good on Afghanistan, bad on Afghanistan. He was okay, but not where he should have been. He got it wrong first and then went back and got it right while he was still in Congress. Barbara Lee was right from the beginning. She was right on Afghanistan. She was right on Iraq. She was right on Syria as far as telling us not to go to war and all that good stuff. Wrong about the approach on Syria, but still right and consistent as far as her anti-war narrative. Tulsi had to evolve into that position in around 2014, 2015, which is okay. Now, domestically, Tulsi owns Barbara Lee. But that doesn't mean that just because Barbara Lee endorsed Kamala, I'm not going to erase her foreign policy record. That's disingenuous. It's disingenuous, people. AOC has shown who she is. And if you want to keep relying on that Bernie endorsement 10 months after the election started, well then, hey, I guess go ahead and y'all still supporting Justice Democrats? I mean, they're taking money, but they endorsed Bernie Sanders, remember? Forget everything else. Is that what we're doing? So I guess because Nancy Pelosi, endorsed AOC, Pelosi's progressive now, right? Because that's what matters. The endorsements, not literally everything else. Come on, peeps. Heba Ristra, thank you very much for the super chat. How do you, the Convo Couch, and Hard Media increase viewership? I cannot speak so much for Hard Lens, even though I love Hard Lens, of course. Kit's my guy. That whole team is dope. But we, as I announced at the beginning of the show, are actually building a website in addition to our Rockfin stuff, and we have some other stuff working in the background as well. But we are actually hoping to appear on a series of websites in addition to ours over the coming weeks. And so that's what we plan on doing. And we, going to keep doing what we do. Going to keep increasing the quality of the show. Going to keep putting on every platform we can, and keep working harder than everybody else. That's what we're going to try to do. So I appreciate the question, though. Thank you. We have to stop falling for the AOCs and the Warrens, bro. Got to. You got to. And it's so easy. Just pay attention. I'm not saying you can't appreciate something when she does something good. That's not what I'm saying. But like, to be frank, only the emotionally immature and I mean, that's basically it. The emotionally immature. Their highs are high as hell and their lows are like, oh my God, I hate everything. No, there's a balance. When she does something good, congratulate her, thank her, hope that she does something good again. But don't pretend like the bad doesn't exist. And if there's a little bit more bad than there is good, if there's a little bit more inconsistency than consistency, then make sure that you are aware of that pattern, acknowledge it, and adjust accordingly. Not, oh my God, AOC endorsed Bernie. AOC for president 2024, yay! How the hell did we get to that? This woman's still talking about deferring to the caucus. My ass, how you gonna be the executive? How you gonna be the man, the woman in charge and talking about, I'm gonna defer to the caucus on that. On your commentary, not even legislation. The commentary is, I'm gonna defer to the caucus. You're not a leader yet. I pray one day she can be because of the just how big her voice is, but at the same time, she's never going to be a leader while y'all still making excuses for her. That's never happening. Y'all are doing damage to the candidate that you like, and you don't even realize it. Time to move on. So, obviously, Florida has been in the news a lot. And of course, if it's in the news and it's coming out of Democratic candidates' mouths and Democratic leaders' mouths and CNN's mouths, it's going to trend on social media. And oh yeah, don't forget, especially if it's in a state that the Democrats need to win if they have. If you like that segment of Mi Casa Su Casa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else,
More than anything else.
More than anything else,
More than anything else.
always remember,
Find your balance.
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.